soon after my parents split, when I was in middle school, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And and I had like, the manic episodes and all that kind of stuff. And when I found the Lord, he healed that. 100%, no medication needed. Cold turkey. And I have never dealt with it since.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too. Lunch break. Hey, I'm here with my friend Steve. Steve's been kind enough to join me on lunch break.
I'm excited for this.
So, yeah, we're here with my friend Blake Burnard. Am I pronouncing that correct? Bernard.
Butchered it.
I did. But we're not going to cut because Mike is laughing over here and he's usually my host. I always mess up names, Blake, so that's not new for
What's
me.
the name?
I know.
I'm glad I remember him.
Yeah. So we're glad here. He's the owner of Grindhouse. It's really got an interesting name because it's not spelled that way. So how many people get it right the first time?
Few.
Yeah.
I get a lot of hosses. I get a lot of, I got a huos one time. I think they're dyslexic, mixed up the U and the A. It's a tricky one for a lot of people.
Yeah. So, there again, I always love the intricacies. So, why the different spelling?
Honestly, clever marketing. So it started in
I like that,
my
Steve.
house. Yeah, it started in my house. I am not German, Austrian. Do not deserve umlaut A at all. But I started training athletes out of my garage in 2019. And even before I really knew how to train people or which way was up, I knew that hard work could overcome a lot of things. And so I thought,
it does.
Fine, it's in my home, so it's house, right? How can I make it more unique? I made it. And I'm a fan of the grindhouse genre of kind of gritty horror films as well. So just kind of, it was natural.
Yeah. Well, when you hear about that stuff, it's just we're all in the iron game, and so it makes sense. We know it's a grind. Steve and I've talked about that so much, and in the house, whether it be a big box or your garage, I think we all have that beginning. Steve and I've talked about a lot. When I started with Folger cans, cement, and broomsticks. And when Mom and Dad knew my brother and I were serious, they bought us that cheap Sears plastic cement thing that I think everybody worked with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Steve?
Yes.
Business is good, you said, right?
Yes, got nothing to complain about. The garage, huh?
Yeah.
How does it feel to go from the garage to a business owner? Walk us through that.
Honestly, it came out of necessity. So it wasn't something I ever envisioned doing. I was a high school teacher originally. Played college football, went the typical college football player path right out of my playing years. Thought I wanted to be a fireman. I had my first child with my wife in the academy, and so
in the fire academy.
Yeah.
Wow. So we got. I'm counting 3 careers that look.
Yes. I'm coming back to the child in the fire department.
Right.
Keep going.
Absolutely. So I was doing the preliminary academy through BC, right? And then already interviewing like up and down California, and had my first child. And I think it happened one night. I was the first one to get her to take a bottle before mama, and I was so proud of that. And I just hold my daughter. I go, man, I don't think I want to work all that overtime after all, And so I just dropped that dream immediately. She was already teaching at Highland High School, so I went out there and joined her.
Oh, wow.
And we decided it was in our kids' best interest, our family's best interest, for her to stay at home. And so we made that move, but I was like, man, I got to make ends meet somehow. So that's how I started training our faculty out of my garage. And it was just kind of a weird thing. Yeah.
At Highland?
At Golden Valley first.
Okay.
Then Highland. And it wasn't until COVID happened, man, that I took on my first cohort of athletes. Did really good work with them, kind of by accident. Because we thought it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, and I was doing it as a charitable thing, and that became like 4 weeks,
2 weeks
and
to
8
slow
weeks,
the spread.
That was a good story.
Right?
And so before long, that original group of like 12 athletes, they'd all brought friends, and that turned into 25. And I just had my little 400 square foot garage. I go, man, it's probably time to retest after 8 weeks. I don't know when this the lockdown's gonna lift.
We were all very optimistic.
Oh man,
and disappointed in the beginning. Yeah,
we had no idea. So anyways, retested the kids. They all blew their numbers out of the water. They all got faster, more explosive, and lifted more weight than they ever have in their lives. And I go, man, would you guys pay for this? They go, yeah. And I started calling their parents, you know. And
I love the attitude, Steve, right? Kids are like, absolutely, we'll spend our parents' money.
That's my favorite thing to hear when we go shopping.
Well, when the kids come in with a dad's credit card into Sportslanders West, what do you say? Bang.
Yeah, right.
It
ended up being a natural thing, though. So at the same time, it was just a God thing, man. I mean, at the same time, we were getting cease and desist orders from the city of Shafter because we were in that new Shafter development. Not really Shafter, on the outskirts of town.
Kind of Shafter, almost Shafter.
Gossamer Grove, right? And we were living out there, and they have really strict regulations on like running businesses out of your home and stuff. And our neighbors didn't like the gangster rap, so anyway, they ended up calling us.
And he does rock the rap. He does.
We definitely do. And so I was like, man, we might have to get a warehouse after all. And so, anyways, just prayed about it. The Lord said, do it, and I was scared to death. But I ended up, basically the membership dues we ended up coming up with, that first wave, all went into the down payment on this lease in this property, and within the first 6 months, we were at 60 athletes, and it just, the way it went. So there was no grand scheme or plan, or wasn't my life
marketing
scheme.
God never has one.
No.
Well, we talk a lot about this because faith has to overcome fear, right? You just said the fear set in. How did you get over that?
I don't think I ever really thought about it long enough. It just kind of,
Maybe that's youth, Steve.
You know what? Yes. Yes.
Seems like the older you get, you hold on like tighter.
I have my moments too, but at the time, things were just moving so fast. My head was still kind of spinning. I don't think it really set in how crazy that was what we did until later. And I mean, obviously, the Lord's anointing was on it. It was just, I don't know. I think we were in His will, and we never made any decisions apart from it. And He just honored that. I think that's it.
So let's take it back a little farther. So how did you and your wife meet?
In between colleges.
Okay.
Came home. I flunked out of a math class to transfer from Saddleback College to my four-year university and continue my playing career. So I had to come home and take this obscure math course through North Dakota online something, and my parents were like, "You are not staying in Mission Viejo to take that online class." So they
figured that one out. Yeah. Good job, Mom and Dad.
That's
Good
right.
job.
That was one thing they would not endorse. And so came home. Little did I, and I was a complete heathen, just absolutely in the world. And
we savvy that, right, Steve?
Yeah, that's a completely different can of
That's
worms.
called 20.
That's right.
College football player at 20.
21. It was even more dangerous.
Oh.
Yeah. And I had an fully operational ID at that time, so it was a crazy time.
Well, Steve was a bouncer for many years.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could spot those fake IDs like that, huh? Nowadays, you still see them and you go, oh, yeah, not you.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
My favorite one is when they would hand it off to the guy behind him and be like, oh, I'm stupid.
Like, you didn't see that, right?
I'm just stupid, right? And it would be the guy's ID that was behind him, and I'd go, oh, I'm keeping this one. No, that one's mine. I know, but I let the other guy in with it, so one person per ID. You're out of luck.
Oh, I bet they were white. I bet they were white as a ghost.
Yeah.
So long story short, we had some mutual friends that we didn't know at the time, but they were trying to set us up, right? And,
thank you for the matchmakers.
Yeah, amen. And again, I had no business being with my wife. And anyways, at the end of the day, they invited us to a Sunday night church service at Canyon Hills.
I love that.
And so they're like youth adult ministry at the upper room when it was on campus.
I love that.
And anyways, she'll tell you to your face, she fell in love with my pipes, my singing voice.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You can carry a tune?
Heavens no. But she thought
yeah.
There were angels in the room that night.
Now I was impressed because muscles and a voice. I've heard that.
Love. It's called love.
Yeah, that's right.
Love makes everything great.
That's right. So anyways, long story short, one thing turned to another, and the Lord told me that night that she was going to be the mother of my children. As odd and weird as that sounds,
so
I didn't know what the Lord's voice sounded like at that time.
Okay, that's what I love, is when God invades your consciousness beforehand.
Best
100%.
feeling ever.
It is
100%.
It is. I love that stuff. And so, did she have the same feelings as you?
She said she liked to sing it.
Yeah, after the fact. But I was the one chasing that thing initially, and thank goodness I did, because she's just absolutely incredible.
I love that. I love it. Well, it sounds like it. And so did you both fall into love with teaching? Because she taught and you were teaching too.
Yes. So I come from a long line of educators and college administrators and the like, and so I think it was kind of in my blood. You know, you grow up around that.
Well, my wife's a superintendent, so I know how that goes.
Absolutely, they take it home, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I heard all that, right, growing up, and my wife and I, we really love kids. So I like to believe that we were in teaching for the right reasons, because there are a lot of teachers that do that as more of a fallback job.
And it's good insurance, and it pays decent.
100%.
Yep.
It allowed us to have kids with great insurance, you know, and they're healthy, and so it was. I still miss the classroom to this day. It was a wonderful experience.
What subject did you teach?
Freshman English.
Ooh, English.
You don't see a lot of no-neck English teachers.
No, you don't.
I like to believe I was a cool teacher on campus.
Yeah.
That's what we always envision, right?
right. Through my rose-colored glasses. I love teaching, man, and I think that played a huge role in my career now as a strength coach, because just knowing your audience, understanding kids, and giving them a place where they feel safe and ultimately, you know, that they can thrive in. That doesn't happen by accident.
No,
it takes a lot of intentionality.
No, so. It doesn't. It doesn't. You know, so as you fell in love, and what I love, you know, of course, a lot of things happened in the pandemic, but when you guys came up with the idea that you were going to train full time, you know, there again, I mean, we call something about, you know, when you get married, you know, the Bible says you become one flesh. Mm-hmm. Were you both on the same plan? Like, this is something that is gonna see us through, or was she just like betting on your ingenuitiveness?
You're talking about coaching?
Grindhouse? Well, yeah, grindhouse.
Basically,
leaving a permanent teaching position.
Yes, that's what we're looking
and
for.
Pursuing something that felt right for you.
I wish I could say it was like a teaching ended and coaching started, but there was we were burning the candle at both ends for quite a while. So there was a full year that that was fall of 2020 when they started the school year completely online. Mm-hmm. I was doing that, teaching from my office in that warehouse at the gym, and just I would wake up, I'd coach a 5 a.m. class, do my online teaching, immediately coach the athletes in the afternoon, and I did that for a full year. And it wasn't until basically like I was like, you know, I can't serve two masters any longer. Like basically neither one. I couldn't be a master at either one. I was kind of a novice at both because I wasn't really committing to either one. So eventually at the end of that year, I ended up calling it quits on teaching. But again, it was the gym was taking off. It was probably an easier decision than most can afford. And so I'm very thankful for that. It was kind of natural.
I love that. And you know, and there again, we'll talk about it on Muscles Matters and Ministry Matters, because Blake, one of the thing that I think inspires me the most about you is that everything that you do now encompasses faith.
Yes, sir.
You know, and as we talked about it, how you and your wife had you know, kind of started a family young, started careers young. That is something that's important to you both, is your faith, and that it does become a part. So, as you're going through as a young guy, young family, you know, and you're throwing it all on the line, and, you know, you got the fear, but you also got the drive to do that. I noticed something in, you know, social media. You've been really successful with some athletes. I know a few of them have signed D1 scholarships this year. And does that become a family for you also? You know, I mean, so, you know, because I know Steve. I mean, you know, one of the things I'm good about finding somebody who has a gym with faith. I know you, Lord, and Edmund have, you know, the NOS, and you guys have faith, but it's nice to find somebody else who has deep faith, because, like I was telling Blake, you're the only one that I trust.
Not just faith. It's an anointing.
Yes.
His gym has an anointing. He's got an anointing. I mean, you walked out on water and it was there for you.
Well, that's what inspires me about Steve with you, because there again, I was talking to one of your clients the other day, and they were just talking about how you're slowly letting them get deeper into the water, and you know, but you're not like throwing them out there saying, hey, you need all this things that they don't really need at this stage. So you let your faith hang out there when you're not trying to let somebody. Your integrity is always there. That's something that I think's important. With that.
Especially if you're representing God.
Yes. It doesn't matter what you do. It's important that how you do it. So when these kids, and I call them kids because they are kids and they're kids to you, do they stay connected with you?
Yes.
Yes.
What we do is so firmly rooted in relationship. When they move off to college or whatever, they stay in contact. You don't spend that many hours let's face it, we spend more time with them than most of their school teachers and a lot of their sports coaches do. And some of these kids don't get home until 9 o'clock at night. So we might actually spend more time with them on a weekly basis than their own family does. And so that gives us quite a pedestal and this weight of responsibility to do things with integrity, to lead them, in the proper way, hopefully towards the Lord, but really being able to meet them where they're at and leave a lasting impression on them so that hopefully by the time they leave our facility, they're better than the way we found them.
I like that. Do you get close to the families?
Yes, 100%. We go to our kids' games. Right? I don't know a lot of facilities that do that. We take time out of our own day away from our families to go hang out with our kids and do life with them, any opportunities we see, fit. And that's really the big payoff, is being able to see them outside of the gym, commune with them, break bread with them, also be able to watch them succeed on the court, on the field, that kind of thing.
And being able to watch them, you're able to see the transitions, what needs to be worked on.
Absolutely.
That makes a big difference. When you can see it, it's like coaching somebody and then watching them lift. Oh, you did that wrong. We'll talk about that later. So
because you're right, Steve, because it incorporates into the movements, right?
Yes. When you can look and I got to work on his footwork. When he gets done, we're going to talk about that.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it too. It's really easy to, like you said, we're in the iron game. We romanticize the weight room. There's no, shying away from that. But, we do have to make sure it still transfers to sport. Yes. And sometimes, we don't want to miss the forest for the trees kind of a deal. You know what I mean? We still need to make sure that they're the best ability is availability. So making sure they're healthy, they're not limping around the court, right? And then also making sure that they're effective in what they're doing. Because we'll be able to see things with a trained eye that we're like, oh, that probably needs a little bit more work. And I wouldn't have seen that in my facility.
Well, and I think, is what you and Steve do as you mold these young athletes, you are molding them for their sport. And I know you probably have a relationship with the coaches because, you've got the clay and you're molding it, but it's, we all know that the iron game is a dangerous game. We've all seen the injuries. We always talk about the injuries because, it's metal. And flesh always wins against, iron wins against flesh. It just really does. So keeping them healthy is always that thing 100%. that you want to make sure that the kid doesn't limp into practice before you've called him and said, hey, we just went up a little bit more and we tweaked the knee and the knee's going to be okay. But
absolutely. I'm very thankful for to be able to report that after training over 800 athletes in the last 3 years, we've only had one hamstring pull. That kid did not warm up well, and so I can pretty clearly pinpoint where that one came from. We haven't had any injuries, so very thankful for that. We get a sore back every once in a while,
but that's just a good workout.
And sore muscles.
Yes,
right.
But I think as Steve and I talked, I think in our last Muscle Matters, stretching used to be paramount before you worked out, and had so many injuries from either not stretching properly or stretching too cold. And so
muscle manipulation is really come a long way. Rolling out knots and all that stuff. Nobody knew about that.
No.
Massage gun? What's that?
Right.
Nobody knew about that. No. What is something, we always ask this question on our show, Blake, and I didn't prepare you for this one, but what is something about you, and I don't want any deep, dark secrets or know where the skeletons are buried, that maybe somebody doesn't know about you? Me, I played the violin. I've got a speech impediment, I forgot what Steve's was.
I did ballet when I was a child. I was clumsy.
Oh my goodness.
So
Let's see it. Prove it.
We've had people come in and say they're colorblind, and I had one guy that read poetry, and so we said, prove it, and bam.
Sure.
Yeah, he spit out some poetry, and we're like, what the heck?
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was just, and you wouldn't think it. I mean, he was a basketball player and things like that. So is there anything that, that is just like, would be,
He could sing us a song.
Well, his wife. That was for his wife.
Let's see. You spoke about overcoming, and so a big part of my testimony is that soon after my parents split, when I was in middle school, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and and I had the manic episodes and all that kind of stuff. And when I found the Lord, He healed that. 100%, no medication needed, cold turkey. And I have never dealt with it since. No depression, no manic episodes, no nothing. I'm still high functioning ADHD, but that's why I'm always always caffeinated. But
Mike just looked up and you said,
my goodness.
Yeah.
But that's the big one, man. So I do a lot of speaking to my athletes about mental health, and I believe that it can be. I think it's spiritual. I think it's highly spiritual. I speak from a place of experience on that one. Yeah, not a lot of people know that about me.
Well, I think that makes, as we talk to people out there, there's a human element, and I think sometimes people, once they know that there is something in your life that you've been able to overcome, it opens up a little bit more of a conversation, a little more about credibility, because we can all say it, when we're young and succeeding in whatever athletic endeavor we're in, we're invincible. We got this. We're self-made, right? Drug-induced, self-made. I'm just saying, men just have a way of putting on a front.
100%.
And I love it when men actually can come and say, "Hey, I'm an overcomer," because I don't know anybody who's not. And if they say they're not, you haven't lived long enough to bring that about. So I love to hear, I love that. And I love, as you tell to other kids, sometimes it makes them feel, well, I'm not weird.
Right.
And so it's one of those things, Steve,
yes,
that we've talked about mental health in the Iron Game.
Yes, yes.
We know so many people out there that deal with depression. We did one interview with our friend Doug Brignoli, and Doug talked about that, Steve, and when people realize that, hey, the pictures don't tell it all.
Right.
Magazines don't tell it all. Your sports success doesn't tell it all. You played for, was it Frontier or Independence?
Played at Frontier here.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah, I saw that. So where did the athletic career take you?
So a big reason why I became a teacher is because I was deemed academically ineligible my senior year of high school. So I wasn't able to accept. Actually, all my scholarship offers got revoked because I was a bonehead. I thought it was like the movies, man. If you just stop showing up to class and you're good at football, they just pass
dangerously,
you.
huh?
Doesn't work like that.
So that was
does not work like that.
Still going on. That wasn't just the 70s?
I thought it was like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm like, I could just be a ghost. No, that's not true. So anyways, long story short, I had to go the JUCO route. That wasn't what I planned for. So I ended up going to Saddleback College. My parents, I was so fortunate to have parents that still saw good in me, that still, it was a redemptive story. And they still knew I was meant for other things. Maybe my senior year of high school didn't immediately portray. And so ended up going down to Mission Viejo, spent 3 years there, and then finished up my last 2 years, my playing career at Henderson State University in Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So after you got educated and you came back and you started teaching, I mean, I'm assuming that's happened just a little bit before you met your wife. Or did you come right back?
No, so to clarify, we met in between those two stops. So I had to make up that class in between. So I spent a semester here. That's when I met her. So when I went to Henderson State for 2 years, we were doing the distance relationship thing. Yeah, we got married immediately upon my graduation from there.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. That made it easier to stay godly. Because you use those
depending on who you are, I guess.
You had a trajectory.
Yeah.
So tell us, how'd you propose to her?
On the beach.
Ooh, romantic.
Okay, you know those little we were doing a Bible study on the beach.
Oh, great place to.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Take some lessons from this.
You don't
guy.
find good girls at bars. You find them at church, boys.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, what do you call that? The little the bookmark, the little linen bookmark in all the Bibles. I tied her ring to the end of that thing, and I said, "I want you to open up to page, chapter, whatever." And she opened it up, and that was that. So, you know.
And did you do a Bible study after that?
No, we
Bible study was over.
Yeah, I love that.
I told her it was a front.
Yeah, hey, it's in Genesis chapter 2. Man's not meant to be alone.
That's right. That's right. That would have been way better. I don't know what I had her open up to.
No, I like that. So as we're going to get more into Blake's story and Muscle Matters and Ministries Matters, is there anything about your story that maybe you'd like to share with the audience? I know I love the fact that you were able to recognize through God's help, you were able to overcome a troublesome, bipolar condition. Anything else that you might want to leave with, mentorship or anything that happened for you young?
That's a great question. And it's very open-ended. Thanks for not helping me out at all.
Well, I don't want to rat hole you in, because we're going to rat hole you in on the other subjects.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about failures and trials and overcoming a lot of stuff, I mean, it's all by the blood. It's like not a single bit of it was by my hand. But I will say that each major thing that did happen to me, it made me more and more Nassim Taleb calls it being anti-fragile, right? And so it's different than just being resilient, because a resilient person just kind of, they get through it. But anti-fragile people allow it to really change them, so they overcome, but then they also are made stronger because of it, right? Not in the Katy Perry kind of way, but like I truly believe that all my life experiences, the good and the bad, the Lord allowed me to make more mistakes my way than anyone else, but he gave me, he allowed me to learn from each one.
I think when we all read James 1 and it says take great joy when you face various trials, it's like, how?
That's it.
It's how.
That's it.
But then it goes on to say that it's going to build endurance. I know one thing, you probably more endurance than Steve and I. We always talk about it. We were never built for speed.
Do you think this is built for speed?
Well, I don't know. I'm not putting a label on you. You could be.
You're not the wrong guy.
We've always talked about if we're being chased, at one point we stop because we're going to get caught. And I want to be able to have breath in my body before
I'm fighting whatever it is.
I think I'm in good company here.
So it just says that, it takes endurance. And we all know what endurance means. I imagine you have exercises. Some of your kids look at you when you say the word. Oh, no.
Right. Definitely.
Not that. But I think that's something that we all have to hear and we all have to say. So, Steve, tell us where they can find Steve Southers at.
Oh, I'm located at 7420 District Boulevard, right across the street from Nestle's Ice Cream. You know what? Tell us where you're located and give us an age number, because there's people out there that has to know. Like, I've got some youngins, and there's some youngins that, where are we located and what's our age brackets?
Absolutely. So we're located right down the street from Liberty High School off Brimhall and Callaway at 9412 Shellabarger Road. And we're best known for our work with athletes, although we do train adults of all ages. Like, for instance, our age bracket for our small group training for our athletes, at any time of the year, we have anywhere from 100 to 140 of the Valley's best athletes in our facility. And that age range is anywhere from 10 to 23 years old, essentially, depending on the season, depending on the time. In order to get that work.
I like it. So if you're out there and you're a parent and you want your child to have the best opportunity, because we do all believe muscles make whatever you do better.
And faith makes it great.
Well, faith is the ingredient that will get anybody through that next level, whether it's, an injury, whether it's, a trial, whether it's divorce, whether it's incarceration, whether it's disease, mental health, or others. It's there to help us navigate life. Faith. And we have faith in Jesus Christ. We're around here, 511 Media Group, Thessalonians 511, Faith, Family, Freedom. And we thank you for dropping in and like us, subscribe, and catch the next 2 episodes with Blake. We're going to have Muscle Matters and Ministry Matters. So thank you again. God bless.